Walk into almost any conversation about watches, and you'll hear the same three logos, the same recycled advice, the same crowd chasing the same overpriced steel sports watches with 2-year wait lists. Meanwhile, a whole tier of brands sits right there in plain sight, making watches that outbuild and outdesign the famous names for a fraction of the money, and almost nobody talks about them. That's not a coincidence. The big houses spend 30 to 50% of a watch's price on marketing, distribution, and retail markup, and you pay for every cent of that logo, whether you notice or not. The brands on this list do the opposite. They pour the money into the watch. The real question isn't whether these brands are good. It's why they stay overlooked, while inferior, pricier watches get all the attention, and who benefits from that. The answer is simple. Attention in this hobby is bought, not earned. And the brands that skip the advertising skip the recognition too, no matter how good the watch is. So here are 8 affordable brands everyone ignores that are worth every dollar, and by the end, you'll understand why the smart buyers already own them and quietly wear more watch than the people who spent triple. The first is Tissot, and yes, you've heard the name, which is exactly why people underrate it. Tissot is the value engine of the Swiss industry, and the watch to know is the PRX, a 1970s-inspired integrated bracelet sport watch that gives you the same steel sports luxury look everyone's chasing at the high end for a few $100s. The Powermatic 80 automatic version runs an 80-hour power reserve, a full day and a half longer than most Swiss movements at any price, in a sharp 40mm case with a waffle dial. Then there's the Everytime Swissmatic, a genuine Swiss automatic that undercuts many micro-brands and even uses a caliber derived from Swatch's clever System 51. The PRX now comes in 2 case sizes, quartz and automatic, with a chronograph in the lineup, so there's a version for almost any wrist and budget. Don't dismiss it because it's sold in a mall. Flip the reasoning around. A real Swiss automatic with modern engineering, sapphire crystal, and 100 meters of water resistance at that price is the deal, not the compromise, and it's the single easiest recommendation in the entire affordable segment. The next one wears a quieter badge, and that's the point. The second is Mido, Tissot's sister under the Swatch Group umbrella, and it sits a rung above Hamilton and Tissot, yet just below Longines in price, which is a sweet spot almost nobody exploits. Mido has been around since 1919, with real automotive-inspired heritage and pioneering water resistance history, and today, its multi-fort and Ocean Star lines deliver Swiss automatic calibers, sapphire crystals, and finishing that punches into territory watches, costing twice as much occupy. The Ocean Star Diver, in particular, gives you a proper ISO-style tool watch, with a Swiss automatic and long power reserve at a price the German and Swiss competition can't touch. Around the $1,000 mark, Mido is one of the genuine value leaders of Swiss watchmaking. And because the name doesn't scream status, you're buying the engineering, not the billboard. That's the whole trade. Slightly less recognition for meaningfully more watch. If that surprised you, the next one is built for people who actually need a watch to survive. The third is Marathon, a Canadian-designed, Swiss-manufactured brand that has supplied the U.S. Armed Forces since 1941 and today conforms to the official U.S. military standard. This is not fashion military cosplay. These are the real, issued specification, and the tell is the H3 gas tubes on the dial, self-powered tritium tubes that glow for years without any light charge, a genuine rarity in the market. The company has been run by the same founding family for 4 generations, and its watches are still designed in Canada and assembled in Switzerland to survive conditions most people will never put them through. When you buy a Marathon, you're buying a watch built to a government durability standard, not a marketing brief, And that's exactly the kind of substance the logo chasers walk right past. Nobody at a dinner party will recognize it, and that is precisely the point. Now the list shifts to the independents, where the value gets almost unfair. The fourth is Christopher Ward, the brand that most directly terrifies the establishment, because it sells Swiss-made watches direct to your door, with the retail markup stripped out. Their chronographs and the C63 Sealander diver land in the $500 to $1,500 range, with quality control that rivals brands charging twice as much, and their in-house movement work has pushed them past most micro brands into genuine manufacturer territory. The math is simple. A traditional Swiss brand spends half the sticker on getting the watch to a shop. Christopher Ward spends it on the watch. Same quality, lower price, or higher quality, same price. Either way, the buyer wins, and the establishment knows it, which is why you'll rarely see a mainstream magazine give the brand the coverage it has earned. The fifth is Baltic, and this is where design punches far above price. Baltic makes vintage-inspired watches out of France, using reliable Sellita and Mido movements, and their Aquascape diver is the one collectors keep reaching for. In hands-on testing, what stands out is how it wears. A compact 39mm case with a short lug-to-lug that sits planted like an old skin diver rather than a bulky modern slab. And that attention to case proportion, crown feel, and bezel action is exactly what separates a watch worth owning from a spec sheet in a nice box. Baltic gives you the details that actually matter on the wrist, day after day, for a few $100s, and its vintage chronograph line brings the same sensibility to a category that usually costs thousands. This is the difference between a watch designed by people who wear watches and one designed to hit a price on a spreadsheet. The sixth is Furlan Marri, the brand that redefined what a cheap chronograph could look like. It launched around vintage-inspired mecha quartz chronographs, a hybrid movement that gives you the crisp snap of a mechanical chronograph pusher at quartz prices, and the finishing punches so far above the cost that collectors talk about it beside watches, many times pricier. It has since evolved into genuine mechanical territory and earned steady collector recognition. Here's the insider tell on any chronograph in this space. Column wheel actuation is smoother than cam, and pusher feel and reset accuracy separate the good from the forgettable. Furlan Marri gets those details right, which is why the hype is earned, not manufactured, and why its earliest limited runs already trade above retail. In the same breath belongs Christopher Ward's chronograph work and Baltic's Sellita-powered pieces, an entire tier of independents delivering stopwatch complications at a fraction of Swiss heritage pricing. The seventh is Baltic's tougher cousin in spirit, Laurier, an American brand that sells its vintage-inspired sports watches at a flat, honest price, with no artificial scarcity games, delivering acrylic crystal charm and reliable Mido automatics that wear like watches from a much earlier, more elegant era. And right alongside it sits Brew, the New York brand building chronographs, inspired by espresso culture, distinctive and specific rather than trying to please everyone, with custom layered dials and hand-wound movements that make each release sell out fast and hold strong on the secondary market. Laurier's flat pricing is itself a quiet rebellion against a market addicted to hype drops and inflated resale, and Brew's espresso-inspired dials show what happens when a brand chases a genuine idea instead of the widest possible audience. Both prove the same point: a small independent that commits to a clear point of view delivers more character and better value than a mass-market watch built by committee, and both use standard movements a local watchmaker can actually service. The eighth and most important is not a single brand, but the rule that ties the whole list together, the one thing that separates a smart, affordable buy from a regret. The risk with any small or independent brand is service and survival. A micro brand might not exist in 10 years, and a dead brand can't fix your watch. So here's the checklist that flips you from hopeful buyer to informed one. Favor brands that use standard, widely serviceable movements, Miyota, Sellita, ETA, or Seiko-based calibers, because any competent watchmaker can service those regardless of whether the company survives. Judge the watch at the specification and finishing level, not the logo. Case proportions, crown and bezel feel, sapphire versus mineral crystal, movement grade, and bracelet quality are where the real money either went or didn't. Buy the watch you'll actually wear, because most affordable watches are passion purchases, not investments, and the ones that hold value are the exception, not the promise. And buy direct or from a trusted seller, so you know exactly what you're getting. If you recognized even one of these brands, hit the like button and comment below with the affordable brand you think deserves more attention, and I'd be happy to weigh in. Subscribe if you want the part of the watch world the logo chasers keep ignoring, the part where knowing beats spending every single time. Because the truth under all 8 is simple. These brands were never lesser. They just don't spend your money telling you they're great. They spend it making watches that are.